Oof, this video took way longer than I expected. My bad. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sly Cooper Mini Project. A quick recap for those of you who haven't seen the last devlog. I've been working on a recreation of Sly 2 Band of Thieves Episode 1 The Black Chateau. Partly for fun and partly because I want to see the Sly Cooper series come to a complete ending, even if I have to make that ending myself by making a Sly 5. But that's a future problem we'll tackle later if necessary. Right now, I plan on using this mini project to showcase my skills as a game developer and hopefully win over the hearts of the Sly community. We ended the last video with the complete 3D model of Dimitri's nightclub and the streets of Paris. But today's video has so much more and I'm super excited to share, so let's pick up where we left off, shall we? According to Sly's compass, I started in the northeast corner of the map with the aqua pump stairs. I had to keep in mind the future enemy AI that would have to come down here, so instead of stairs I made a ramp, but I think it should work just fine. Next was the water tower. I ended up redoing this building because I didn't like how it turned out, but I didn't get any close-up footage of it. Not to worry though, you'll be able to see the final version later on in the video. I called the next one the question mark building because it looks like a question mark from above. This was about the time I could feel the art style become second nature to me, allowing me more comfort and speed with modeling. The egg was the first building I realized how much of 3D modeling is actually texturing. The buildings look pretty flat and bland without it, and it's kinda hard to see the vision from here. A hurricane hit my home around the time I did the triangle building, so there was a brief moment I couldn't work on the project. But lucky for me, this building was quite simple, so as soon as I had time, it didn't take too long to complete. The bean building gave me some difficulty. This edge of the map slopes down towards the water, making it more difficult than the previous buildings. I eventually got it to my liking and moved on. It took me 5 tries to get the center building correctly outlined. It's the longest building in Paris, so it was quite hard to get the dimensions correct using still images. Because of that, it was probably the building that took me the longest to complete. Next was the red roof building. The front patio took me some time to do, and honestly it's not perfect. If I was going for accuracy, then I probably would redo this building. Le Hotel is probably my favorite building. It really gives off the Sly aesthetic so much more than every other building. This one didn't take me the longest to do, but I did spend a good amount of time on it. I wanted it to come out as best as possible. Probably the easiest building out of all of them was the black roof. It's a pretty simple shape with a pretty simple roof. The only tricky part of this one was all the connecting bridges from the other buildings. The dome building came out a little weird to me. I took my time on this one as it draws the most attention, but something about it feels off. My best guess is that the dimensions are off, but as I was modeling it, everything lined up, so I'm not exactly sure. Now is probably a good time for me to mention that I'll be adding all the small details later on. The clock on the clock tower, for instance, will be modeled and added in separately to help with optimization. The rectangle building looks like it would be the easiest building to do, but because it has two connecting bridges to the clock tower, it actually took me a while. Lastly, we have the safe house. I actually had this one done in the last devlog, but I saved it so I could post it as my first Patreon update. I post real-time updates on the Sly Cooper Mini Project over on my Patreon, so if you're interested, check it out. Link in the description below. And that's it. The bulk of the Paris map is complete. All I have to do is add in the smaller details and texture the whole thing. And also model and texture all of the interior buildings. No worries though, we will get there eventually. I'm thinking about possibly hiring some outside help to speed up the process, but I haven't decided yet. For now, I need a break with 3D modeling. In the last devlog, I asked you guys what game engine I should use for this project. All the responses I got were to use an engine I'm familiar with, so that's what we're doing. I've been using Unity for as long as I've been making games, so I have quite a bit of knowledge with it. Luckily, I already have a project made that I used to showcase the collectibles I showed Reddit. All I had to do was import the Blender file over, and we have a world to play in. To adhere to game dev tradition, the first thing I did was add in a bean. But this is not just any bean. This is Bean Cooper. Until I get some character models, this fellow will be our stand-in for Sly. Now to get him moving. My plan was to create a basic character controller, meaning for now, I only want to code in the basic moveset that every character in the game has. So walking, sprinting, jumping, binocucom, pausing, and HUD display were all on the list. Some things like combat will have an entirely separate system that I'll build out later. Also, the Sly games aren't played using a mouse and keyboard. This means I have to bust out Unity's new input system to map all the controls to a DualShock PlayStation controller. I'll be the first to say, it's easier said than done. First, I built the camera. This isn't too difficult, there's plenty of tutorials on YouTube, so I got it working pretty fast. But then came walking and sprinting. This is where the real fun of game dev starts. After smashing my face on my keyboard and relearning the entirety of the new input system, I eventually got movement working. Simply walking with the left analog stick and holding the R1 button to sprint. Jumping is pretty simple. I just add a force to the bottom of the character every time the X button is pressed. Then we can add a validation for the ground and limit the jump count to 2 so we have a double jump. Next on the list was the binocucom. Originally, I tried to make it so that the third-person camera moved positions and changed controls, so I didn't have to have 2 separate cameras. But that ended up being harder than it needed to be, so I added a second camera, kept track of its position, used a screenshot for the canvas image, and allowed it to open with the R3 button. It took some trial and error, but it came out as intended. Lean Tween is a free pack in the Unity Asset Store that allows for easy and efficient UI animation. I've never used it before, so I had to learn even more stuff to keep this project afloat. Nevertheless, it allowed me to make a pretty slick binocucom animation. Next was the collectible system. I've built quite a few of these before, so it was kinda like riding a bike. I remade the UI images in Photoshop because when I screenshotted them, they came out very blurry. After some doubtful and insecure coding, I got the L3 button to display the HUD, and the ability to collect bottles and coins by colliding with them. I really felt like I needed one more thing for this video, so I decided last minute to do the pause menu. Not too difficult, if you ignore the fact I didn't have a cool text carousel like the original game. And I hard-coded the UI animation because I couldn't figure out how to use Lean Tween with the menu for some reason. But somehow, I'm slowly adding more and more features that seem to be creating a Sly game. Pretty cool. To showcase the results, I had to fix the awful lighting and add a nice water shader to bring everything together. And there we have it, a promising start to the Sly Cooper Mini Project. I can't help but feel like this project is taking a long time to complete, but I can speed up progress with some support to my channel. Interacting with any of my social medias is a great way to help me out, and it's completely free to you guys. Although if you are willing to go the extra mile, my Patreon is only $1 a month. You can get constant updates on the Sly Cooper Mini Project and early access to the devlogs when they're complete, plus anything else I feel like sharing with you guys. But that's all for today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.